What's poppin', everybody? Sebro24. I think it's time we talk about the TCG meta a little bit again. In about 2 weeks, Celestial Storm is going to come out, and it's a really interesting time in the TCG. The rotation is going to happen. We're going to lose a lot of significant cards, a lot of significant supporters, a lot of really important cards in certain decks, in all of the top decks. And Celestial Storm, it's kind of like an anti-meta set. You have cards like Sceptile that are supposed to be counters to Ultra Beasts. You have Altaria GX, which is basically a counter to Pokemon GXs and EXs in general. Only needs 2 energy to work. Stage 1 GX has a lot of HP, so it has potential. And it doesn't really bring any super killer Pokemon or super killer deck like Forbidden Light did with the Malamar Psychic Alternate Cosmic GX deck. Unless you want to talk about Rayquaza. Rayquaza GX is a pretty killer Pokemon. It's kind of self-sufficient in a way too. It's basically like Mega Gardevoir EX, but in the form of a basic Pokemon, is also self-sufficient and potentially stronger. Now in Expanded, that Pokemon is extremely strong because of all the extra support and extra cards you have, like fucking Battle Compressor, a bunch of other shit, and it can easily become a turbo deck. In Standard, that could very well be the case too. We have some Dragon support coming, but definitely in Expanded, I see it being stronger. On the other hand, you've got Electrode GX as well, and that dude, well, it can't put the energy on Rayquaza itself. If you grab a bunch of shit, put another Pokemon, and then make Rayquaza GX ready, you can also grab 1 energy with his ability to by sacrificing 3 of your top cards of your deck. Then, it can be kicking some ass before you know it. There can be some serious ass kicking going around with Rayquaza GX. Besides all that, I really feel like not much is going to change. If you want a safe bet, what my opinion is, Malamar GX, Malamar variants, not Malamar GX, whether with the Necrozma GX or Ultra Necrozma GX, are probably going to be still the best deck kind of thing. Is either that or Zoroark. And the reason that I say this is that they'll lose Floatstone, which is the most important thing they probably lose with the rotation. But, you can still attach a Psychic Energy on the Dawnwing's Necrozma GX, and you've got your Stadium down, the Ultra of the Moon, which is still going to be around, and it's like you have a Floatstone all over again. You can do your Free Retreat shit, and that's basically it. I can't really think of anything else that the deck really loses. They have everything they need. They lose almost nothing from the rotation. And stuff like the supporters and Bridget and all this kind of stuff, every deck loses that. And we're going to get replacements with Celestial Storm in the form of Apricot Maker and some other cards that are going to come. Steven's Decision is also a card that really helps that deck a lot, since it's not one of the decks that attacks immediately. You kind of set up in the beginning. And grabbing 3 cards like that for free and just passing seems pretty good to me. So that's a pretty safe deck. Buzzwole GX, that could still be pretty good, but you have to consider they lose strong energy. They didn't do that well in the Masters Division, at least, in the North American Championships. I think everyone was kind of surprised. None of them were in the top 8, not even Michael Primowatt's deck. And the Sceptile and the sort of anti-meta hate kind of hurts that deck a little bit more. Malamar, Ultra Necrozma GX is a Ultra Beast Pokemon, but you can use the fucking regular Necrozma GX, and you don't really care that much about Sceptile and shit. And you have a lot of options for attackers in general with that deck. So I feel like it's a better deck. I mean, Buzzwole should still be strong. We have a little bit of a Ultra Beast support in this set as well. I think there's the Beast Ball and some other stuff. But I don't know, man. They lose Regirock. They lose strong energy. I'm not sure if it's going to be it's probably still going to be a top deck. But I think people won't expect maybe as much from it. If you want a fast, simple deck that can do a lot of damage, Buzzwole GX should still be pretty good. But yeah, Zoroark GX is still going to be great. And in general, because of Pokemon like Zoroark GX and even Buzzwole, Stage 2 Pokemon, they can't really shine as they used to before with things like Metagross GX and stuff like that. I mean, Gardevoir GX, this set does have a few interesting Stage 2 GXs like Shiftry GX, can be pretty good, Blaziken GX and stuff, but I mean, if fucking Gardevoir GX didn't manage to do all that well, and kind of acted as a tier 2 deck in the North American Championship. That Pokemon still is sort of the best GX, still Stage 2 GX, so no matter what Celestial Storm brings to the table, like Blaziken GX, Shifter GX, all that stuff, if Gardevoir can't do a lot of shit because it's outsped by things like Zoroark GX, I don't see those guys like doing much. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look the future doesn't look very bright for them, I should say, in competitive play. If Gardevoir GX couldn't do much of shit, and Gardevoir GX is also going to lose a lot of interesting, not interesting, but important cards like Delayed. So I'm not sure. Blaziken GX, yeah, you can't use it with the Blaziken with Fire Starter, and it's gonna kind of act like Malamar, but we're talking about Stage 2 Pokemon, so how well that's gonna be. There's things like Swampert 2 and Celestial Storm, which is basically like your Stage 2 Zoroark GX Pokemon. Yeah, you can draw 3 cards and it's a Stage 2. Only gives 1 prize, but it's gonna be slower too. So I don't know. Swampert might be able to do some shit, who knows. But other than that, Celestial Storm really is the anti-meta deck, the anti-meta sort of set with Sceptile, with Altaria GX. Altaria GX can be pretty something, man. Stage 1 only needs 2 energy to make the attack. It might be able to be a really solid anti-meta deck. Decks like that usually just are good, but they probably can't be number 1 because they're anti-meta. But who knows? The other interesting Pokemon this set gives that maybe gives a little bit of hope for Ultra Beasts is Stakataka GX. Stakataka, yeah, this is how you call him. And it can increase your defenses. You have a bunch of those down, it decreases damage by 10. So, yeah, Ultra Beasts, of course, are still good. But if you play against Sceptile, you know, maybe it won't be very good for you. The best sort of killer Pokemon that maybe you want to get and probably can basically do some shit on its own, be its own super strong deck, like Ultra Necrozma GX, Buzzhole, all that stuff, is Rayquaza GX. If you find a way to make Necrozma GX work, then it could be pretty good. It's also interesting because since we also have Electrode GX, who knows, maybe that guy's going to work. There's always been these sort of electrodes that blow up and fetch billions of energies, and in some way or another, they've always been good. They've always been competitive and did stuff. Electrode GX is modeled after the best card, if you ask me, the original Electrode EX. You die, you lose 2 prizes, but you can grab up to 5 of any energies from the discard pile. So maybe Pokemon like regular stage 1s, I guess, with a lot of HP might have a shot that need a lot of energy to work. Maybe some other stage 2 Pokemon can work. Maybe some basic Pokemon can be pretty good now. Prism Pokemon, who knows? Maybe you can just run a bunch of Prism Pokemon with 160 HP and power them up instantly with that dude. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It's an interesting time. But like I've said, the safest deck that I feel like it should be the strongest deck is Malamar. Zoroark GX, of course, did win the North American Championship, and it is a pretty safe sort of deck to run. But if you want to go with the strongest deck in the form of power, and just in general that has a good matchup against almost anything, I really feel Malamar, just any sort of Malamar variants that have so much flexibility, whether with Ultra Necrozma GX, the regular Necrozma GX, other psychic attackers, you have a lot of options. They should be still the strongest deck, the safest deck to rely upon. So yeah, who knows? Maybe anti-meta shit is going to be real with Altaria GX. Maybe Rayquaza, people are going to find a way to build that deck, and it's going to fuck up people. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you can build a fast Rayquaza GX engine and power up, let's say 2 of those guys in, let's say, turn 2 or some shit, getting one-hit knockouts with that basic Pokemon is going to be top dog. Nobody's going to be able to stop Rayquaza. So yeah, that's pretty powerful. But it really depends. In Expanded, I have full confidence in that deck. But in Standard, we'll have to wait and see what partners are going to come up with it. There are a bunch of partners that exist within just Celestial Storm actually that can be used. They don't really come to mind. I think Sableye does some interesting shit. If you find a way to make it work, it should be pretty good. But Celestial Storm in the rotation is going to happen at around the same time. It's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, actually, Celestial Storm is going to happen, and we're going to have around a month before the rotation happens. So, yeah, maybe if you want to utilize the Celestial Storm cards with the cards that we already have right now, and win some tournaments, it's going to be your 1 month chance. But after the rotation, it's going to be really interesting. But I really feel like Malamar Psychic decks are still going to be the best deck, safest deck to run, the deck that kind of gets hurt from the rotation the least, and it's just pretty consistent, pretty reliable. But anyways, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys subscribe, leave a like, share this with your friends. Sceptile 94, what's up?